shall see. Oh, live stream. I see Tom. There he is. Looks handsome as ever.
Thank you. Not doing so bad yourself. The hair's all in order today. Looking good.
I take that as quite a compliment. And you can't see it here, live streamers. Tom, I know you don't approve. My lights are down here, but I'm starting to get the first base layer of tan for the summer. I'm past. I mean, it's go. I'll carry this tan on till October, November. I can go strong till November. Don't be jealous.
I mean, I get tan. I spend a ton of time outside. I just, with all the training and stuff that I do. I mean, this morning, all my training was inside because it's a little chilly out and it's faster for me to just get it done inside. But yeah, I mean, I do, I spend a ton of time outside, but I also put a ton of sunblock on because I'm not wanting to get, I've got, several people in my family have had, things removed from their skin because of sun exposure. And I don't want to join that party. But I have bad habits. Like I have bad habits too. So I'm not trying to paint myself like I'm some kind of like I'm without fault. I definitely have some bad habits. It's just that tanning is not one of them.
Understood. Bad habits are, sometimes you just have to accept you are who you are. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this is me and I'm going to smoke a cigar once in a while. This is me. I may drink a frosty beverage occasionally. This is me. I may listen to my music too loud, whatever those bad habits may be. Is that a bad habit?
I mean, I don't know, but I mean, you named one of mine. I smoke cigars. So here I am, an Ironman triathlete running marathons and half marathons and covering 140 miles in an Ironman triathlon. And I smoke cigars. So, I mean, I obviously don't inhale cigars because that's not how you smoke a cigar, but, and it doesn't affect my training at all, but, at least as far as I can tell. But yeah, we all make silly decisions and have bad habits. I mean, I used to smoke a lot of cigarettes. So, I smoked like a pack a day for like 20 years. So, we
should just talk about all the bad things we do. Go on.
I mean, how much time do we have today? Like that is a scab that is if we pick off that scab, I don't think the bleeding will ever stop.
Yeah, that's true. If I told you guys how much fried chicken I eat, I had some good wings this week. They were seasoned, a new place. I had heard about it. There's a little hole in the wall bar. Man, the wings were on point, Tom. A seasoned wing, crispy. Come on.
I don't know if this is a New York thing, right? So like I'm gonna ask this. I don't know if this is a New York thing, but like do Chinese restaurants in other parts of the country do chicken wings? Is that a thing in other parts of the country? Like Flash, give me a it looks like Dr. Tachi is saying that it's a thing. Okay. So like don't sleep on the Chinese restaurant chicken wings. I am telling you right now, like the best fried, like, cause they're fried chicken. They're like breaded, right? They're not buffalo wings, right? They're a different thing, but like, do not sleep on the Chinese restaurant chicken wings. I am telling you, they are the best around, like bar none. For everybody who knows, go to a Chinese restaurant and get yourself some wings. Do yourself a favor, treat yourself. It could be your birthday, whatever. I don't care. But like, get yourself some Chinese chicken wings. And I'm telling you, you will thank me.
Hey, so first of all, I might give these a try, but I just want to say, for anybody who's never been to our clubhouse house, or I think we're a house now, they changed it from a room to a house. If you have not been here before, we talk about, it's not the smartest guys in the room, but we talk about clubhouse, podcasting, telling your story, social media, and then sometimes we get sidetracked about wings and tans and other weird stuff like that. So don't hold that against us and don't judge us on that. So we were talking earlier, like me and Tom talked before we come on here, just about like all the things going on in the world. And so one of the things we were going to talk about today, I'm just going to point that out, is we're going to talk about jumping on the next thing out there. So like whether it's Clapper or Clubhouse or Chat GPT, how many of us jump on the new thing and just ditch the thing you were just believed in and loved so much? And then how much time do you give something? That's something we're going to go down that path. But Tom was telling me, we both have busy weeks going on here, and he was telling me about a shoot that he's about to go on. And so I thought it's interesting because Tom a lot of times is a video expert in this room, production and video. And he says, well, I have a three crew shoot or something like that. Like, okay, I thought, one, let's figure out what the hell he's talking about and just tell us a little about what goes on, because some people think, like you often say, like, you're not going to get a production that with your phone that looks like a TV or, or a movie or shot in this K or whatever. Would you tell us what a shoot, a three team shoot looks like for you, Tom?
So, I mean, it really, here's it always works this way, right? So this is like something that I've talked about in this room before, something I talk about with clients all the time. But it always starts with what's the end result, right? Like, what is the outcome we're going for? What is the destination, right, that we're trying to get to using the road trip analogy, right? So that's the way this always starts. So the goal of this shoot is to do a 5-episode documentary series on this multi-day event, right, that's going on this weekend. So the question then so the next question is, now that we figured out what we want to do, the question is, how do we do it, right? So what we want to accomplish is it's sort of a competition event, right? There's 3 separate categories. Within each category, there are teams competing. And so what we decided to do, well, actually, I decided to do, right? Because I was contracted by the organizers of this event to create this series. I pitched them the series, and they contracted with me to provide this series for them. So what I decided to do was to bring in 3 separate teams. So we'll have 3 camera crews, which includes a camera and a sound recordist per camera crew. So that's 2 people. Then with each camera crew, there will be a producer, myself and 2 other producers. And then we'll have an assistant camera AC person who's also going to be responsible for what we call DIT, which is essentially the technician that is responsible for collecting all of the sort of footage, right, which are digital files. So that will have one person who's responsible for gathering all the footage from everybody, collecting all the footage from everybody, and then we'll also have an assistant who just is kind of a floater, and a general assistant who will kind of jump from team to team where they're needed, right, and support the teams as needed. So we're going to have an 11-person crew for the course of the weekend. And the reason we're doing that is because all 3 sort of categories of the competition are happening simultaneously. And we want to follow, in order to maximize the opportunity that we're going to get stories, because we don't know who the teams are going to be. We don't know exactly what projects they're going to be working on. It all happens real time over the course of the weekend. And because of that, we have to kind of hedge our bets and have enough coverage on each of these 3 categories and enough teams within each category that we can then edit together kind of an episode out of each sort of kind of phase of the competition, so to speak, right? These episodes are going to be 10 to 15 minutes in duration, somewhere in that neighborhood. And so we've got I charted out an episode plan. So in sort of from a high level view, sort of what each episode is going to be about, right? Like what part of it, what the sort of journey or the story is we're trying to tell in each episode, and how those episodes are going to tie together into the series, right? And so, yeah, so that's why we're doing it this way, right? Those are all the kind of the things that go into the decision-making process, in terms of like, coming to a decision on what we're going to film. Now, you were talking about, cost of equipment and so like, this is a combination of me subcontracting with another production company who's local, because this is not in my backyard. This shoot is happening up in Boston. So I'm traveling up to Boston, and rather than travel everyone from New York, I'm hiring some local folks up there. There's plenty of talent up in Boston. It's not like I'm, doing anyone a disservice or the client a disservice by hiring local folks up there. Plus, it keeps the budget a little bit more reasonable for them. So I've subcontracted with a local production company up in Boston. They're providing the majority of the crew. Some of the people that we're hiring in are people that I've worked with before. Some of them are new. But I'll be there as the sort of constant, because I've been to this event before and I've worked with this client in the past. And then, we were talking about like sort of cost of equipment. So it's most of it is their equipment. Some of it is my equipment. But we're going to be, filming with 11 people, like this 11-person sort of crew to execute on this project over the course of these 3 days. And, all total, the cost of the shoot is going to be, tens of thousands of dollars. And, we're not buying the equipment for the shoot, but, the equipment that we'll be utilizing for the shoot, like total value, if you were to go buy it off the shelf to use it, would be about $100,000. So that's kind of what we're throwing at this project to try to get something that it could be very, very easily could be down the line sold to an online streaming service, and could be a documentary series we put out on those services, to draw more attention to this organization and the work that they're doing. That's really the goal behind what we're doing. But yeah, that's just kind of a quick high-level view of what we're throwing at this project and kind of what's entailed with putting together something like this.
Tom, man, that's awesome. And I wanted to just dig into, because Tom's done it for, what'd you say, 30 years? One day you got mad, you said no, it was 28 or
22
yeah. Years of production experience to produce what he's producing. So whether it's the money that goes behind it, the experience, the time, like to get so 3 cameras recording for 3 days. So how many hours a day will you film?
So we'll be on set, like kind of filming scheduled for about 8 hours, but we're not going to film all 8 hours of that 8 hours. Right. So, it's hard to say, like probably less than half of that. So probably per camera, I would say maybe 3 hours of footage a day, roughly.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, so 9 hours of footage a day, 20 times 3 days. So you're doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yep.
Okay. 27 hours of footage, once he narrows it down, to get down to how many 15-minute episodes?
About an hour and 20 minutes probably total for all the episodes.
Right. A lot of work to tell a beautiful story, and just the effort that goes into that kind of production. So I just thought it'd be interesting to cover that. We got a hand raised from Julie here. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, so that's where I wanted to start. Not the smartest guys in the room. If anybody wants to ask Tom production questions or jump on how much effort goes into telling your story, go on. But then we were also going to talk about jumping on the new thing. Dr. Tachi and her beautiful black hat. We got Julie Rock there, Prof T, Jamie, Brian, Joyce, Julie, Alexandra, Amanda. What's going on all? Thanks for being here today. And we just switched from a room to a house or something like that. So we don't know everything. If it's a little different today, well, it's going to be different. Dr. Tachi, what's up? How you doing?
Good morning. I'm fantabulous as per usual. How are you both?
We're good, man. What do you think?
I'm doing great.
Go on, Tom.
I'm doing great.
That's my fault for asking both of you to answer at the same time. I'm sorry.
Hey, understood. Dr. Tachi, what do you think about all this time that goes into a production, whether it's the filming or publishing of a book or writing of a book, or what do you think about all of that time when some people think they're just going to jump on and it's going to be perfect the first time. What's your take on that?
So, the whole process of creating something, whether it's a book, but, in my case, it's film and video, and Tom can attest to that. It's magical because what you see on the other end is the magic of the many, many hours that have gone into making this, from the writing down to and you don't even think about all the things that are involved in it, from the clothing industry all the way through it, down to the person who made the fasteners for the clothing, all the way to the people who made the cameras, etc. So there's so many facets involved in this, and you don't think about it because all we get on the other end is a finished product. That said, people see that and like, oh, I can do this. And it not saying that you can't. You absolutely can try to do it. I think too now the nature of what production is has changed because of things like social media, platforms like TikTok, etc., where people are creating and there's user generated content. And I think that has merit as well. But I think because of that, it also has the not only the propensity to make people think that they can do what a professional does easily and that they don't need you, it also makes them think that they don't have to pay as much when they do need something professionally done because, oh, I can just take my phone and you can. But for the people who do things with a cell phone, and there are a lot of people like Ching does a lot of uh, cell phone stuff with videography and filmmaking. You can, but what you don't know is most people who are shooting on their phones, serious stuff, they're using lenses and stabilizers and kitting it up so that it behaves like a camera, because a phone, as good as they get the cameras on, is still not a camera. It's lighter, so you have to stabilize it. So there are all those things that go into it. So when you think you can do it this way, you can, but you either have to learn how to do it right or pay for somebody else to help you do it. That's what I think.
That was good stuff. Tom, what's your take on all that?
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things. I always go back to that meme that has floated around on the internet for a few years, that it's, everyone's a photographer and it's the picture of the dial on top of the camera and it's set to M for manual, right? So like everybody thinks they're a photographer until they actually have to understand technically what's happening when you take a picture, right? And that's kind of what Dr. Tachi's getting at, is like everybody thinks, or not everybody, I don't want to say that, right? I don't want to paint with that broad a brush. A lot of people diminish the kind of work that I do because they're like, whatever, I film videos with my phone all the time. Like, why would I spend $100,000? Why would my company spend $100,000 to hire a company, to create an episodic content series about X, Y, and Z, or for, marketing purposes for our company? And the answer is, what you get when you actually invest in something is different from if you try to do it on your own, right? Like, you get what you pay for. And if you pay nothing for something and you try to do it on your own and it's not your field of expertise, well, then it's not going to be as good as if you hire an expert. It's like if you paint your house yourself, it's not going to be done as well as if you hire a professional painter, right? Like, it's just, it's very common sense, and people understand it in different contexts. But because everyone walks around with a camera in their pocket all the time, they tend to really, really diminish content creation, right? Particularly cinematography, video production, episodic content production, things like that, because they walk around with something that's capable of a version of it in their pocket all the time. But just because you can create a version of it doesn't mean you can create a high level version of it. There's a huge difference between the quality of the painting that comes out, that you create when you go to a paint and sip, paint by numbers night, right? And the quality of the painting that a professional artist puts out, right? It's just not, you can't hold yourself to the same standard, right? But people do, because they walk around with a phone in their pocket all the time, you know, they film things, they record things, they take pictures of things. And from a technical perspective, a lot of times the content, the things they're creating, the videos they're creating, the pictures they're taking are, from a technical perspective, pretty awful. They're pretty bad, but nobody gives them that feedback. They don't know any different, and so they think it's just as good, right? They don't have sort of a measuring stick or a guidepost to measure it against, and so you end up with this sort of like really aggressive diminishment of the professional expertise that goes into doing this kind of work. And the big thing that I think people miss is, for example, this series that we're creating for this event. It's a documentary series. Like I said, we don't know who the teams are going to be, right? Because the teams literally form as part of the event, right? We don't know exactly what problems. It's a hackathon event, right? We don't know what problems the teams are going to be working on trying to solve together, because those are part of establishing the problem sets, is part of the event, right? So there's a lot of unknowns. So people probably think, if you haven't been around this kind of work before, and if you haven't done it before, you probably think, oh, we're just going to show up and start pointing cameras and hit record and see what happens. And that's not at all what we're doing. I had an 1.5 hour long meeting with the other producers yesterday where I took them through step by step exactly what the event's going to be. And then afterwards, I put together 2 pages of potential interview questions to use for them as reference, so that they had an idea of the kind of story that we wanted to tell. Because of my past experience with the event, I have an idea of how things are going to shake out, but I don't know any of the details, right? But like, I've put tens of hours, right? Literal days, if not weeks worth of work in advance into planning for this shoot. We are very much not going to show up and just point cameras at stuff and hit record. That's not how this works at all. If you know what you're doing, right? If you're doing it, you know, in a calculated, professional way. But a lot of people think that's what you do. And you know, it's that lack of understanding that really breeds this perception that it's much easier than it really is.
Dom and Tom, may I add something really quickly?
Please, Dr. Tachi.
So yeah, 100%. I just wanted to add 2 things: that there is definitely room in the space for user-generated content, and I don't think we're saying that it diminishes what a person can do with their phone or whatever they have, telling something from their side. I think we're also saying that there's an art to it, and that you can miss things if it's not planned out, particularly something like the project that Tom is working on. And case in point, there was a group that I'm involved in, kind of like we're fans of this one DJ, and there were several people, of course, that were shooting and doing things, but one person decided that they wanted to like produce a mini documentary on it, and they had never done any documentary work before. And so, you know, she did it, and she did the whole thing on her phone and got some content from some other people and then put it up. And, you know, while it was a great nostalgic thing, I was looking at it because I had like kind of consult with her afterwards, and I said, this was really nice. This was nice, you know, a nice first attempt. I said, but did you consider this? Did you have these questions down? And because there was not really a framework for what she wanted to do, there were so many missed moments that she could have added that would have made it so much better. So it was a good first attempt, but because she didn't have the framework and the vocabulary and the understanding of what it took to actually do a documentary, there were missed opportunities. So I think that's partially what we're saying as well, especially if you're a business. If you try to do things yourself because you're trying to skip out on paying, you're going to miss opportunities and then end up having to pay to do things properly. So no, you know, disrespect to user-generated content, because I think it's great and there's a space for it. But when it comes to business and putting your business out there, good foot forward, you need to really have it well planned out.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I was by no means you know, trying to diminish user-generated content or discourage people from creating content themselves. Absolutely. I consume a lot of user-generated content. I think it can be great. what I really was intending to do was to sort of draw a delineation between, right? They're just different. It's not that user generated content is bad, right? Everything has kind of a time and place. But like, if you went to Netflix to watch a documentary series and it was 100% user generated content, you would feel gypped and you probably wouldn't watch it, right? You'd be like, why is this on Netflix? This belongs on TikTok, right? I mean, so everything kind of has a place, or it belongs on YouTube. It doesn't belong on Netflix. Like, why are they paying to put this out, right? It would be confusing. So everything has a place, right? And user generated content is fantastic. By no means want to diminish it. What I was really trying to get at was, just because you've created or can create user generated content doesn't mean you can do the kind of work that I do, right? Any more than I could do what anybody, like, I couldn't do what all of my clients do or any of my clients do, right? They're all in different industries. Some of them are attorneys. Some of them, are this, organization up in Boston. Some of them are nonprofit healthcare organizations. I can't do any of what they do, right? So, it's just sort of understanding kind of where your strengths lie and where you need support, which I think is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength to say, like, I'm not good at this. I need help, right? So you don't always have to do everything on your own. If you've got the budget, right? If you've got the resources, use them. It's crazy not to.
Good stuff, guys. This is not the smartest guys in the room. We were digging in on a little of Tom's behind the scenes. Since we see Tom every week and he had a big shoot coming up, I thought, well, let's really talk about what goes on at a shoot like that. The other subjects we're going to talk about are jumping on the hot thing, meaning, oh, forget Facebook, I'm going over to this app. Forget Clubhouse, I'm going to this one. Forget writing your own story, I'm using ChatGPT. So any of these things, and just to point out, like, on the right platform, however you're filming or whatever you're putting your content out, like on some user generated on like a TikTok or something, it's perfect. If you tried to put on some overly produced thing, it would be like, oh. And then the reverse, if you don't know your platform, if you don't know your audience, if your audience is expecting Dr. Tachi holding a camera and then they get some like overproduced thing, they're going to be like, what is going on here? Oh, so what do we got here? Wow, we just lost Julia. I was going to say how I met Julia on a call the other day. Okay, Prof T, what's going on? We got a whole panel of experts here too. So if you have a question and you want to ask an expert, you got them here. But Prof T, are you jumping from app to app? Is there something you love? Are you making videos? Teach us something. Go on, Dr. Tachi. Oh, no.
You meant go on Prof T, right? Yeah. And then you muted yourself and now you're talking on mute so nobody can hear you.
Good. So every mistake I made, hopefully I was on mute. I was saying, let's go to Prof T. What do you got for us?
Good morning, everybody. You can call me Dr. Tachi anytime. That was such an honor.
So I wasn't on mute. Damn you guys. Okay.
Good to see you guys. Prof T from Philly, where it is chilly. My goodness, out for my walk. The wind is blowing. It is chilly. That is a cold wind. It looks deceiving because it's a beautiful sunny day here, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you. Love the topic. I'm going to just kind of stay in my lane and talk about what I feel comfortable talking about, and that is I stay on the apps that I feel like I'm getting the best results, because I work a lot with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm telling you guys, they're getting younger and younger, and I'm amazed at their fire and their passion and their ideas. And a lot of them are experts at this stuff. And there's different apps for different strokes for different folks. So I think you have to find out what one brings you more of a return. What are you more comfortable with as far as doing videos? I still struggle with that because consistency is key. And I'm not going to lie to you. I get very anxious. Oh my goodness. If to do a 2 minutes with Teresa thing that I do that I'm trying to stick to takes me an hour. And I'm like, I just have stuff to do. So I do feel like you definitely need to do some video. You need good content. And I'm going to just land with 2 things. Number 1, keep your content consistent. I know a lot of people like to do a lot of things to show your normal day-to-day lives. And, you know, I get that. But I don't know if it's, I could be wrong. I don't know if it's a necessity. A lot of people tell me they don't really care about somebody's personal pictures. They just want to know, how can you help me? And then secondly, as far as telling your story, which I think you alluded to earlier, I can't stress this enough. I work with a lot of people who want to write a book. I work with a lot of people who actually did write a book. They self-published, and you know, they're not selling their books, and they don't know how, and they're at a crossroads, and they're, you know, facing a dilemma. They paid a lot of money and nobody's buying their book. So you really have to do your diligence. Know who you're working with when you're going to spend that kind of money. You have to know that you're working with somebody who has your best interest at heart. And your story really, it is, for many people, it's therapy. They want to get their story out and they want to heal. But you have to remember there's an audience looking for your story. So you really have to have somebody that knows how to get that out. And I'm going to just say, in closing, I just wrote an article. I write for Brains Magazine, interestingly enough. So I love that. And Tom, you had spoken about getting help. And that's the article is about. If you're an entrepreneur, you can't do it alone. You need help. And sometimes you have to bite the bullet, and you've got to pay people who know what they're doing that can help you get to the next level. When you try to pinch pennies, you end up spending more dollars. So that's what I have to say about that. Thanks, you guys. Always a pleasure.
I heard what magazine you write for, or I didn't.
Brains, BRAINZ. It's a digital magazine.
Good stuff, Prof T. Thank you. And I'm all in on I think we're all storytellers in this space, and that's what brings us all together, whether it's YouTube, whether it's publishing, writing in a magazine. We're all podcasting. We're all telling stories in some way. And I want to say, like, it's for me, it's all in the detail. Like, I was working with somebody the other day, and they decided they went into high-level athletics, and they made a decision at one point in their life to go into high-level athletics. And I read the book, and the book was very clinical when I first got it. Clinical. It was facts that I have read in a lot of other books. But then to ask that person, why did you do it? Why? What made you do this? What made you do that? Where were you? What was the detail? What was the moment? Why did you do that? And then all of a sudden, she started telling her personal story. Well, because my dad told me I could never do this because I was tired of the other people receiving this, you know, these accolades because of this, because of that. And then once she started to tell her story, man, was it good. So I'm going to go down another route here. Like what we're all jumping on. We talked about jumping on these new apps and things like that. I use ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT is kind of cool. Give me some content, whatever. But ChatGPT can't tell your story, right? There's no way it can tell Prof T's story. It doesn't know about Prof T and her son. It doesn't know what Prof T's been through. It doesn't know how she feels when she starts to turn that camera on. It doesn't know those things. And when you tell that story, that's what separates you from everybody else. So I keep telling that story. We will go on. We will meet another storyteller here. The next guy we got is Brian P. Swift. He's out. Brian, where do you weigh in? I don't even need to ask you a question. You just do your thing.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody's having a great day. Yes, storytelling, it's the key. Just be genuine and be who you are. I've loved collaborating. It's made me better at everything I do because everybody brings a little different perspective and a little different point of view and sees things a little differently. So, whether you're collaborating just at a ground level or collaborating at a coaching level, it seems to have at least made me better at storytelling and keep what I need to do front of mind. So, and as we said, whether that's book, whether that's podcast, whether that's a radio show, get out there because your story is making a difference. So, love it.
Swift, how do you decide who to collaborate with? I'm sure 1,000 people come to you with ideas, and then you're like, this is the one that, I want to jump on. Or what is it about? Is it just the idea? Is it the person? What makes you say, yeah, let's investigate this. Let's take it a step farther.
Good question. I think, like anything, it's got to be of genuine interest to you, that genuinely touches you, just like the person. So I think the idea has got to be much like, you meet 10 people and there's those 2 people you just feel a need to reach out to and to maybe bring closer into your arena. Some of it's a feeling, some of it is because it is of genuine interest in something maybe you're involved with or in your wheelhouse. I think kind of like the difference from knowing right and wrong, we all have that inside of us. You just kind of know it. And I think that maybe it's an intuition that when you get around people that you kind of get. I'm complete.
All right, Swift, you're on fire, man. Keep up the good work. Go on, Tom.
I wanted to jump back to something Prof T said, if I could, because there was something that just kind of was sticking in my mind a little bit, and I wanted to ask. She said that when she tries to do the 2 minutes with Teresa, it ends up taking her hours to do, or an hour to do, or something like that. And I just wanted to ask a very simple question: why? Why is it taking that long to do a 2-minute video?
Thanks, Tom. That's a great question. It's me. It's my own blockage. My hair doesn't look right. I need to put makeup on. This shirt doesn't match. This color looks terrible. I don't like the way this looks. I didn't say that right. So I'll redo them, and then I have to edit them, and then I'll go on to, I use Canva, and I'll play with it, and then I'm so anxious that by the time it is about an hour's worth of work for me to do 2 minutes with Teresa, but it shouldn't take that long. And I think it's my own blockages. And I love that question. No one's ever asked me, why is it taking you an hour to do a 2-minute little quick video? So thanks for asking. And I'm open to any suggestions. Thank you.
Yeah. So I was going to say, so I think this is like I'm going to go back to to something I've suggested in the room before. And actually, I think one time I issued it as sort of a challenge to everybody who was in the room one week. And that is, I think a good way to sort of get past that is to literally hold yourself to creating unedited videos. And you don't have to post them. You don't have to start with posting them. But what I want you to do is I want you to for 60 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever the case may be, I want you to record a video, right? If you're using your phone, that's fine, right? Record your video. And then I want you to watch it back 3 ways. So this whole exercise only takes about 5 minutes total, right? So you get your phone out, you record for 2 minutes, and then you watch it back. If you're doing a 2-minute video, it takes a little bit longer than that. Sorry, my math was wrong. But anyway, you watch it back 3 ways. So the first time you watch it back, I want you to just turn the volume all the way up, put it face down on the table, and just listen to yourself, right? The second time you watch it back, I want you to turn the volume all the way down and just watch yourself. And then the third time you watch it back, I want you to watch it with audio, right? And the point of this exercise is to get you to sort of listen to what you're saying, right? Watch how you're saying it, right? And then watch it together so that you can really wrap your head around the things you like, the things you don't like, because there's always going to be things you don't like, right? And the things that you're just going to have to accept, right? That they're idiosyncratic to your speech, to your how you carry your body, how you move your hands when you talk, whatever the case may be, right? It'll get you used to it, right? So you'll find things that you want to work on and you want to improve on, and then you'll find other things that you become okay with and accepting of, right? And do this like a couple times a week, right? Just do it on repeat. Just when you got a free 10 minutes, do this exercise real fast. And over time, you'll get really comfortable with just getting the camera out and recording yourself. And eventually that 2-minute video will literally take 2 minutes to make. And then if you want to pop it in Canva to throw a graphic on it or something like that, you can. But you're going to find that like now it takes you 15 minutes to do, like from start to finish, like it's posted, it's live on the internet, 15 minutes to do 2 minutes with Teresa instead of an hour. Right. And now all of a sudden that is a much more attainable goal. But just the only way to really improve it is to do it. And the way to take the pressure off is by not posting everything you do. Just make these recordings that you don't ever intend to post that are just for you, and just practice, practice, practice.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That is priceless gold. Mic drop. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, it was, Tom. You're on fire, man. And I would say, like, get outside too. And I know when Tom did his videos, that series he was doing, he was walking a lot. For anybody in this, I would think if you're going to do short videos, get outside, walk, move. Sometimes that allows you to open up. If you're sitting in your office, you're looking at the things behind you. You're looking at, you get so focused on how you're sitting, how you're slouching, how the light hits you. All of a sudden you're outside doing a short video like that. There's a lot of things you can't control. You're going to accept that. Just find a green path and walk down that path and tell your story. And I would think you'll be on 5 minutes before you know it, and not as focused on, like me. If I sit in this room, if you're on the live stream right now, I do like 5-minute videos or something sometimes, and I'll do 5 tips to publishing your book, 5 tips to sharing your story. And then I look and I'm like, hey, wait, that thing's weird behind me, or hey, that light's weird, or something like that. But if I just go outside and I was in front of my garage or walking down a path, well, I'm not worried about these things that I see every day that are all of a sudden, hey, wait, Lou Albano looks weird behind me. Okay, so let's move on here. Not the smartest guys in the room. Julie Rock, you were here, you were gone. We need to hear from you. I was in a lovely conversation with her the other day. We were on a Zoom. She was vibrant and full of energy and knowledge. So where do you weigh in on all this, or ask a question or share a tip? That's where we're going. What do you got for us?
Hey, everyone. Good to see you all. I got to meet Prof T in live, real life this week. It was very exciting. I came to do a speaking engagement in Delaware, and we met for dinner. So that was really fun. And I see my friend Julie Loken here. But and speaking of Julie Loken, we're having an opportunity in May to go to VCon, and we're actually going to meet Gary Vee. So we're so excited about that. And the deal is this. I wanted to share what I just heard him say, which kind of blew my mind, because I was like, wondering about content this morning. And he said today that we need to be focused on the top 3 content strategies for 2023 are Facebook fan pages #1, YouTube Shorts #2, and TikTok #3. And he said if you post on those platforms 4 times a day, that is where you need to be focusing your time. So if you really want to kill it in social media right now, that's what Gary Vee is saying. So I thought I'd share that with you guys today. And I'm sure everybody has an opinion of that. I'm just relaying his message, but I thought it might be something good to share. So thanks for having me up here with you all. I love this conversation. And yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Julie, thank you. And with those kind of numbers, which I think are great guidelines, think how important when we talk about repurposing stuff is. So you go out and you make a long form, or you make a 2 minutes, like Prof T makes her 2 minutes. Prof T 2 minutes, Prof T, she puts it on LinkedIn. all of a sudden she could put 15 seconds of it on TikTok. She could put 15 seconds of it on a reel. She could put 15 seconds of it on a YouTube short. She could take another 30 seconds of it and put music behind it. She could take another 30 seconds and change the heading. I mean, the content that you can get from 2 minutes, she could then post that any of those 5 ways that I just said, a week later, make it black and white, add captions to it. It's nonstop. So Julie Rock, 100% agree. And always Gary Vee. Some people, I'll tell you. So let's interlude here. I love Gary Vee. I read Gary Vee's books. I've been, my dog actually ate Crushing It. So you can tell when you meet Gary Vee, let him know that my dog ate his book one time. But anyway, I watch the videos, everything like that. So on I have this like platform, Motivation Champs, where we share inspirational content 24/7. I would share Gary Vee content like every day. Love it. And it could be anything. It could be somebody got an A. Never do I get beat up more than when I share Gary Vee content. People are like, why is he swearing? Why is this? Why do you put this trash on? You lost me after the first minute. But hey, everything's not for everybody. But I'm telling you, I dig it. I get it. So just wanted to tell. But when I share it, man, I take the heat. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. Okay, I am seeing something here. Now that we officially have a house, if you want to join the house, we'd love to have you. We right now we do 1 room a week, so you're not going to get like weird posts and messages from us and stuff like that. We just want you to know about we used to call it a room. Can we still call it a room that we do every week? But Tom's shaking his head yes. So okay,
yeah,
we'll call it a room.
I think they're still called rooms. It's just
Okay.
they're rooms in a house now instead of rooms in a club.
Okay, well, that's fair. I wonder what the impetus behind that decision was. Who knows? Joyce, ask a question, share a tip, weigh in on whatever you want. Go on.
Good morning. Tom, you're going to be in Boston. That's my hometown. Where are you going to be?
I'm actually going to be in the Cambridge area over the weekend.
You're going to be here this weekend? Maybe I'll see you. I'll be riding my bike around looking for you.
I'll be indoors pretty much the whole time, but yeah, get up there tomorrow afternoon, and then I'll be there through Sunday.
Well, it's 420 tomorrow, so I'm going to be all over Cambridge for our 420 events. Every time we talk about content, it overwhelms me. I just think about what I'm doing, and then you talk about all the repurposing and 4 times a day, so that kind of overwhelms me. But I'm doing my thing. I'm putting my stuff out there. I'm being consistent. I can't be on TikTok. Took me down because they don't like cannabis, but I'm doing what I can, and I'm listening to you. So doing my best. But yeah, enjoy your time in Cambridge. It's awesome. All right, I'm complete. I have nothing else to share.
Hey, let's hold on here, Joyce. And there's nothing wrong with feeling overwhelmed. And like 4 times a day for Gary Vee with a whole crew, a whole team, a whole floor of people helping him. And he probably does a lot more than that. But I work on a content calendar for authors and things like that. And sometimes I send them this calendar and they're like, holy cow. But I say, do what you can. Do Monday. Do what it says on Monday. Do half of what it says on Monday. Do Friday. Do 1 of these a week. This is a starting point. Like, okay, Joyce, do 1 video a week. Do 1 2 minutes a week. Do one post. Because if you get overwhelmed, if any of this overwhelms you, you're done. And
well, I do say I'm looking for a new social media manager. That's been sort of I have someone who's helping me, but she's done in May. And I have a content calendar for the next 14 weeks of the podcast. We're done recording at the end of June. I know when I'm posting, I've done all that stuff, but even though, I do what I do, but then you hear people talking like, is it enough? Is it not enough? Am I getting enough attention? Like social media kind of spins my head, but yeah, I am learning how to plan things ahead, and I'm very, very, very organized. My executive functioning skills are very good. So when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I'm consistent. That's one thing I am, but yeah, there's just so much you can do, and I'm never quite sure I'm doing it right. So I just plug it along.
And that's all you can do. That's really what I wanted to just call anybody. Just go for it, inch by inch, little by little, one at a time. If you can do one, then do two. If all of a sudden you're comfortable doing two, add a third, add a fourth, add a fifth, add another day, add another podcast, add another episode a week, add another recording. Each of it's all growth. But you might say, hey, I just want to sit down and watch these shows with my wife, or I just want to be able to go for a walk in the woods, or all of a sudden you have to do what's best for you. So I worry anytime. I just not worry, but I just feel like we've all put so much pressure on ourselves to do what somebody else is doing, or do what these numbers are doing, or there's a lot more to it, so of people buying followers, people buying views, people buying likes, people that supplement I call what do you call it, jump the line. Maybe they have the funds where they can have other people handle it, or have people manage it, or they jumped the line they didn't jump the line because of the business they're in. They jumped the line because of some monetary, they had a certain amount of money, so they were able to come into production or YouTube and podcasting and jump the line in a sense. So, all right, let's keep rolling. Hold on here. We haven't done this yet today. So only for the live streamers, I'm going to show you, I've been unveiling stuff the last couple of weeks. Then we're going to meet Amanda. But this is something that sits behind me in my office, and it is a paper plate, a framed paper plate. Why would anybody have a framed paper plate? Tom, what do you think about this? It has Mean Joe Green on it, and it says "one for the thumb." This is on my wall paper plate. What do you think about it?
Did somebody draw on the paper plate? Is that why is it art on the paper plate, or is it printed on the paper plate?
No, man, it's printed on the paper plate. That's just cool as can be. This is proud one for the thumb. I live in Pittsburgh, City of Champions, and a Mean Joe Green paper plate is something that anybody needs to have, or if you have it, you are officially cool. That's all. Okay, we're moving on. Tom doesn't like Mean Joe Green.
I don't get why it's a paper plate. Like, if it's not something somebody drew on a paper plate, like, why print that on a paper plate? I don't get it.
Maybe for cool tailgating. Wouldn't you feel better eating like your hoagie or something off of a Mean Joe Green paper plate? All of a sudden you're going to have a good Super Bowl party and you have a paper plate just like this.
I don't know that I want my plate staring at me. That feels weird. Like, the outside of a cup, I'm totally on board with, or something like that. Like, I could see it printed on a cup. I get that, but like the paper plate, I'm not sure. And it seems kind of photorealistic too. It's not really like, it looks like it actually, like, right. It's like, it's not, there's a lot of detail in his face and stuff. It's weird. Like, I don't know, like, it's staring at you. I don't know.
What is it? Mean Joe Green, 1980, thumbs up trademark, thumbs up entertainment.
It's an odd choice. Like, printing that on a paper plate is an odd choice. And it's probably why it's like a collector's item, is because it's weird.
That's right. That's what you get behind me. Weird stuff. That makes me smile. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. Leslie's coming on up. Leslie, come on up. We are meeting. I need to get, like, Amanda has this circle around. Hey, I'm asking a favor. Somebody get me one of these circles around it. It's cool. Amanda's got a circle around her, green circle. She looks important. Okay, Amanda, where do you weigh in on all this?
That's funny, Dominic. Try to get it so it's like your eye goes to it, right? Like an attention grabber thing. So there's plenty of apps. And ones, by the way, that you could kind of hack and not necessarily pay for. Screenshot the thing, use it as your thing, and then not actually download the entire photo. But anyway, that's my hack for this circle. But anyway, so one thing I wanted to comment on, and I feel like it ties some of what we've been discussing and touches on also what Tom kind of said towards the beginning of the discussion as well. And it also comes in like, and for me, this is a big thing because for me, I've never had any confidence or self-esteem because I've always been very shy and quiet, things like that. So it was very difficult for me to ever come out of my shell, ever say anything I've ever done. Like what you see of me now is really not me at all. I feel like every day I'm an actress and I'm putting on a show because I just am so shy and quiet. I like, even doing this right now, I kind of like loathe because it makes me very uncomfortable, but I know I have to do it to actually like have a voice and, you know, things like that. And sometimes I'm speaking for others, you know, I need to do it. So I force myself in to do these kind of things. But one thing I wanted to say with that comes sometimes the loudest voice in the room is the one, to your point, with buying followers, things like that, tends to have, you know, a ton of followers, what have you. And then sometimes in tying this into Clubhouse, what we'll see is individuals that have all of these followers, then they'll start to come out and be experts in different areas. Like right now for myself, you know, I've put in a ton of work, like well over 20 years within like data science, AI, things like that. And as we know, AI is a hot topic right now for automation and different things going on. So putting in the work, you know, I'm somebody who's put in well over 20 years of work into this. But then like you'll have Clubhouse, you'll have individuals making rooms and then they're all AI experts overnight. They have like 50,000 followers. Somebody like me with only a few thousand. It's like, who do you think people listen to? And you know, sometimes it is a blow to your self-esteem and confidence, especially if you're like me and it's hard for me to speak anyway. But I feel like, you know, I can geek out on those topics. So I feel more comfortable talking about, you know, data science and geeking out. But I guess what I will say is, you know, when it comes time to actually asking those people the hard questions, right? Like, how do you build an AI algorithm? You know, what algorithms are actually used to build something like a chat GPT? You know, when you start grilling these people, it kind of will start to come out that maybe they aren't the expert necessarily. And then that's when you have the opportunity to shine. And so it's something I've learned on Clubhouse. I think it's valuable for others who could be like me and you don't necessarily feel confident. You're an expert in an area. You go in a room where somebody has like 50,000 followers who's speaking on your topic. You know, they really don't know what they're talking about. But then it'll come down to the time where the hard questions come. And then that's when you can kind of jump in. You could start to shine. You can add value because I'm on here for two ways before I yield the mic. I'm here, number one, if I could help anybody, I like to help individuals get into tech or analytics and show them how I did it. Like with basically skills could be in sales and anything to get into my field and help mentor others. But I'm also on here selfishly to soak up a lot of information. And so when you sit there and let those quote unquote experts with the 50,000 followers and you don't ever chime in, you're robbing other people of the valuable knowledge you have. So I just, you know, if you're like me, just know that, you know, that's your time to shine. When somebody asks the difficult questions on stage and the person's kind of like, well, you know, next topic, you could kind of be like, wait, I actually know that, and then chime in, and then you can add value and start to build your confidence. And that's kind of what's helped me on Clubhouse. But anyway, sorry, it was kind of like a rant, but I hope it had some positivity in there for others like me as well. And with that, I'll yield the mic.
Amanda, it was great. Very intelligent, and you made me think questions about algorithms and stuff like that. Wow. How many of you, this happens to me, sometimes somebody will set up a call, like let's say I might have a client that is using somebody else for certain services. And all of a sudden we get on a call and I've never met the third party. And within 15 seconds of being on with the third party, I'll be like, this person doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. And like in my mind, I'm completely tuned out because whatever it is we're talking about, I already know in 1 minute, 15 seconds that this person has no clue what they're talking about. And I feel bad because like a client might believe in this person a little bit or be friendly with them. And I'm like, they're steering you down the wrong direction. You're gonna lose money. You're gonna lose this, or this is too much. They don't know what they're doing. Does that happen to anybody? Flash if it does. And what do we do? Is there any solution? Because you can't bash somebody else that, you know, this other person, and not that I need to bash them, but you start to, if you're going to all three work together because of this other relationship, what do you do in that case? Anybody? I need an answer. So anybody want to flash, go ahead and give me an answer on that. Eric, what do you got, man?
So you and I sort of run the same. I work with the authors, helping them not only get published, but go into the marketing. And One of my clients came and said, I've got this guy. He does all my web stuff and my social media. He's brilliant. I really want to use him. Can't we use him? Can't we use him? I'm like, all right, let's see. So I get on the phone and the guy's like, I'm like, so what are we doing for the pre-marketing lot? Like, and I just start asking him, like, what is your strategy? Boom, 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 boom. He's like, well, we built the website. I'm like, yeah, but I meant like second chance, third chance. And he kept floundering. And this client has already invested a ton of money in him, has total trust and faith. And I finally said, well, that's not our plan. But if that's what the client wants to execute, why don't we modify our proposal? Blah, blah, blah. And within about 20 minutes, she called me and she said, well, what's different about what you do than what he's saying? And I told her, and she said, so it sounds like he doesn't do what you do the way you do it. And I want the success that you bring. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get rid of him, so to speak. And so I let them make the difference by pointing out the decision by pointing out the difference. Because, it started showing up really quick that this guy was just doing the minimal amount with the most money. And she had thought it was the stellar. And I think it's our obligation to our clients to say, that's bad medicine. Like, I don't know where you read it, but that's bad medicine and you're swallowing it and it's not going to turn out the way you want. And I'm not going to connect my product, my business, my name to that bad medicine because you're going to blame me because the other person's going to throw me under the bus to save their business. And so I'm getting out before it gets ugly, and I'll leave it there.
Eric, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And well said. I'm just, as you're sitting there, I'm just thinking, yep, been there, where all of a sudden 6 months later, somebody comes back and says, why did third party do it like this? And I'm like, I tried to tell you, that now we have these issues and this issue and this could have done it. And then they end up firing. I've had multiple times where they end up firing the other person. But it's down the road where they figure out that person was using them or overcharging them or wasn't really delivering. But I think all of us come, like Amanda was saying, there's rooms out here where people say, make $1 million tomorrow. Well, that's pretty cool. I think I'm going to give this guy a shot, or get this many followers this quickly. You're like, wait a minute. Buy this and get listed in every magazine in the history of time. How am I going to be listed? Get a listing. Okay, yeah. Don't get me started on listings, Eric. You know about listings.
But what I was going to say is, you be okay with letting that business go, because I think in my early days I would have fought for that, and I would have entered into a bad marriage just so I didn't have to sleep alone, so to speak. And over time, I realized that bad money is really bad money. It doesn't suddenly turn to okay money and then good money and then great money. It stays bad money from the beginning to the end. That now it's like, I'm sorry, you know what? That looks like bad money. And we just don't need that going into I perceive every dollar that I earn going into my kid's mouth across the table. Because if you have a 14-year-old kid, that's pretty much what happens. And so I'm kind of like, you know what? I don't need that bad money going into my kids' mouths. So let's just not start that relationship. And my teammates might say, but we're not going to hit our target. I'm like, no, but we're going to survive. We're going to live. We're going to breathe. And we're going to be better ready for the right money to come along.
Right on, Eric, man. Right on. I had a call with somebody one day that they were writing a book and they felt that it was inspirational. I stay in the inspiration, motivation, coaching stuff. They felt that it was motivational. And then at one point they were helping somebody and they fell in love with the person they were helping, and the person was underage. And I'm like, what the F are we talking about here? I had to actually set my camera off in the middle of the meeting, like we're Zoom meeting. And I'm like, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole, and I'm trying to get out of that conversation as quick as I could. And hey, this person can go do their own thing, but they're not going to do it with me. All right, not the smartest guys in the room. We saw my paper plate. We talked about Tom's multiple camera shoot. Now we got Julie Loken. She was on the phone before. She's very busy, so we're happy she's in this room with us. Julie Loken, you're back. Weigh in on everything here. What do you got for us? Give us a tip.
Well, I don't want to just come out of left field and start talking about something random, but I guess my thoughts are, yeah, be very, very conscious of who you partner with, collaborate with, or hire. Do your due diligence, do the background checks. Getting that uneasy feeling. I mean, thank goodness Dom got a huge sign there. Just walk away, because there's plenty of other people out there that will do a good job or do support your vision. Yeah, underage love affairs, that's one to run away from really quickly. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, and I try to be PC. I'm great at being PC, so I cleaned that up as much as I could for this conversation. What an idiot! What a jackass this guy was. Okay, let's move on. Jamie, what do you got for us? Give us a tip, share a story. Come on. Jamie, 3, 2, 1. See, my order, I'm going from on my, Tom always tells me, on my thing, how I see it. See, he goes down, I go left to right. So we talked to our boy Eric. Eric's a handsome guy with his big smile. Alexandra, ask a question, share a tip.
I just came to say hi because I don't have much of a voice right now.
Hey, well, we always appreciate a hi, and we appreciate you being here.
Yes.
She's got such a good voice. My voice, my mom said my voice, I sounded like I had mush in my mouth all the time. So that's probably why I just talk. I figure if I talk loud, that will eliminate my mom when she said I talked like I had mush in my mouth. But I will admit, full disclosure, we were talking about things that were wrong, or things we failed at, things we were wrong at, things we messed up, or bad habits.
Bad habits, yeah, bad habits.
Bad habits. I guess it's not a bad habit. But when I was in elementary school, I was in speech class, and I have old reports from speech class where they were like, Dominick's a nice kid, but he can't say an S, can't say this, can't say this. Another year in speech. So we went down to a different room in the school and all kinds of stuff like that. But I'm back, baby. Here I am. All right, let's Dave, what do you got going on? Were you in speech class like me? Dave wasn't in speech class. Okay. John.
I was in speech class.
Who was in speech class? Dave was in speech.
I was in speech class too. That's funny.
Yeah. If anybody else here, now I'm feeling good today. Anybody else ever in speech class? Yeah. Come on. There we go. We were the crew. You could have hung out with me.
That's why we can speak, because I taught it.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but they tried. But were we paying attention? Dave. Okay, go on, my man. I don't know. Maybe he's in. Where's he at? Ireland or Scotland? Something like that. I want
Ireland.
more videos from. Yeah. Today we got your. I'm going to come back to you because your mic's sounding weird right now. Okay, John.
Okay.
Go on. Now we can hear you. Give your question. Got it.
Yeah. So my question is about discovery calls. So I've been getting more discovery calls, but I can't seem to get to the part to get to kind of close the client. I was supposed to do a discovery call right now, but the guy never showed up. And I'm also getting a lot of like no call, no shows, or just like no shows. They book the call and then they don't like show up. This is the third time this week. And when I do get on the call, it seems to go really well. And then when I get to that last little bit to try to kind of sell the program, I'm kind of struggling with it. They seem to enjoy it. They seem to like want to work with me, put it out there. I try to handle the objections, and then I can't seem to get the close. So do you guys have any tips or tricks on like discovery calls or kind of closing the call to get a client to work with you?
Yeah, let's help them out, man. Eric, I see you flashed off. What do you got, my man?
So one, I would really love to sit through one, because I think you're doing more explaining than discovering if they're the client for you versus explaining what your product is. So one of the clients that I worked with was feeling the same thing. So I had them do like three-minute videos where they would talk about what they did and then talk about how they did and then talk about why their results are different. And only after watching that sequence of 3 could they then book the discovery call. Because what happened is the people that made it to the 3rd were fully knowledgeable about it. And then the conversation shifted to, so you know what I do, you know how I do it, and you know why I do it that way. My only question is, when do you want me to do it for you? If they didn't make it through those 3 calls, and clearly they had disqualified themselves, and the time spent on the phone trying to requalify them that ended up with nothing at the end was saved to produce more work. So my 3,000 feet in the air thing is you're spending more time explaining and not discovering when do you start the project and what the particulars of the project are. I'll close.
Good stuff, Eric. Sometimes I wonder about this. There's introduction, right? So you gotta meet, greet, understand, figure out what they're, and then move on to this discovery. So how the first call, do we know what's going on that first call? Like, is there an agenda? Is there a plan? Is there a time set? For me, I'm having an introductory call, and then like, okay, we meet. Okay, do we need to talk more about this? It's hard to get into a proposal from call for the first call, or if we were into proposal after the first call, that means that agenda was set so clear, man. So if the agenda is set, then I know I am moving to proposal. I'm not even sending a proposal unless we've discovered. I'm not wasting my time. So, Dave, I would really clear up, like, shorten that call, figure out were we just meeting and greeting? Were we on the same page? Were they trying to sell me something? And then going to, okay, I learned this, and this about you. I'm going to offer you a proposal. It's going to be a written proposal. I need this, and this from you. And here's after you have proposal. If you have any questions, we can meet again. Okay. So, all right. So let's go here. So, okay, we lost him, my man. Johnny, love Johnny's shows. I love all things. Johnny, I want to tell you, man, when I found out you were coming into Ohio, I just found out at the last minute and had like 10 things going on, and I still wanted to come. I was like, oh, I wonder if I could get, it was like 3 hours away, and I wanted my Johnny time.
Well, thank you, Dom. I grew up in Akron, Ohio, so it was kind of just a homecoming for me, but I'll be up there again this summer. So, let's see if we can connect. But in Akron, you're in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, man, I'm in Pittsburgh and I drive like the wind. So bring it on.
Well, I mean, Youngstown and meet in the middle. And we'll be all by ourselves because nobody is actually in Youngstown anymore. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I want to double back on Julie Rock sharing the info from Gary V. Gary V is, for those of you who don't know, he is the king of video media, podcasting, content creation. He's built an empire, and he is definitely someone to listen to when he, he's like E.F. Hutton. When he speaks, you should listen. And he has been promoting the Facebook fan pages as his #1 outlet for 2023 for about the last 6 months now. And I've known this for 10 years. And that's where I invest not all my, but the majority of my money and time. #1 is Facebook. #2 is YouTube. And #3 is sometimes TikTok. But TikTok may not be around in the US for very much longer. It's already banned in Montana, and other states are poised to follow suit. But yeah, if you guys aren't taking advantage of Facebook pages, creating Facebook pages, and I manage 14 different pages. And you know what? The results are amazing. I just launched a brand new Facebook fan page 7 days ago for a rebranding project for my magic performances. Yesterday, I signed a deal with representation with a major agent to and I've never had an agent before, and they came to me because they saw me on Facebook within 7 days. It's a huge, powerful landscape. So if you're not taking advantage of it, get with the system. Can you dig that? I knew that you could. I'm Johnny. I'm done. Ta-da!
Johnny, why do you think Facebook is so good? What is it about those pages that makes you say, yeah, it's these?
8 billion people. That's why.
Hey, were you doing a dramatic pause on me? Was that what you were into?
A little bit, sure. Yeah.
Okay, we'll accept it.
Well, and here's the deal. So I mastered Facebook early on. I was one of the early adopters of Facebook. In the early days, I was one of the first 300 people on that platform. I've been there. I've seen all of the changes, updates, revisions, attrition, everything. And they continually reinvent themselves, and they continually find ways to tweak their algorithm and their programming to reach more people and to be competitive. They are not satisfied on just resting on their laurels. First day with my new tongue. They continually.
Hold on. I just want to know, what's a laurel?
A laurel is your achievements. So, all right. So this is
I want to know the whole thing, where they came from. Yeah, you're getting it. Come on.
Okay.
Deep dive.
Okay. So you've seen pictures of Roman emperors wearing the crown of leaves. That is a crown of laurel leaves. And so resting on your laurels means that you achieve a certain status and you stop achieving. You stop being ambitious. You rest on your laurels.
Thank you, Johnny. Continue. See, we're learning here. Go on. What else?
So you never rest on your laurels. Always continue to strive, improve, be better. And that's something that Facebook has continually done. And that's why they continue to dominate the market share. I hear all these gurus talking about Instagram. Well, you know what? For the third quarter in a row now, Instagram has seen a decrease in new users. People they're getting bored of that platform. And from a marketing and branding standpoint, it's a good place to connect with brands for me as a marketer, but it's a horrible platform for conversion because, and it's owned by Meta, owned by Facebook, but nobody clicks off of Instagram to go listen to your podcast, to read your book, to go to your website. They scroll to the next thing. I watch my wife on Instagram. I watch my wife on TikTok. She doesn't stop and linger on anything. She scrolls. However, Facebook, their whole goal is to get you to stop and to pay attention to what it is that's being created, put out there. And that's why it's so powerful for publishers and writers and authors and artists and podcasters, because it is designed to make people stop instead of just scroll to the next thing. I'm Johnny. I'm done. Ta-da.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, manage a lot of pages as well, Johnny, and I see those kind of results as well. So, but I wonder, like we started this today talking about, hey, next best thing. Do we jump too quick? Well, I only got this many here. I'll jump to this page. I'll jump to this new app, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're meeting 3 more people and then we're out of here. So we got, if I see, this looks like I shouldn't be able to pronounce it, but I think it's DJ Rez. So if it's DJ Rez, DJ Rezal, what do you got for us, man? Drop a tip, ask a question.
Yeah. Hey, Dominic. Yeah. Well, thanks for finally letting me speak. I guess I just wanted to comment on some of the things that you guys were talking about, and not to offend anybody, but, I think in general, Clubhouse, I remember hearing this from various folks, like when I first started Clubhouse, like they would say things like, oh, people are fake there. They're just faking their success there. And I'm seeing it now, right? Like I'm going to these rooms because here's the thing. There was a couple of things I wanted to mention. So content creation. Oh, I was actually going to respond to the guy that needed help in sales, but he's gone. So let's forget about that. So I'm actually new to this content creation thing, right? This world of content creation. And it's funny because I go into some of these rooms and like, just respond to kind of like the folks that were talking about buying followers and buying views and things like that. So I mean, it's just so easy to pick up on that stuff, right? It's like the fact that people are actually doing it. Just to kind of respond to Amanda, I definitely think that it's easy to pick up on. 1, 2, the algorithm penalizes you for doing that kind of stuff, and 3. You ultimately, again, there's no 3. Let's just keep it at those 2 things. So that's what I wanted to say. As far as tips, not to sound like I'm complaining a lot, but as far as tips, so yeah, as a new content creator, I definitely kind of disagree with Johnny on the idea that Instagram is not necessarily that good. I'm not even on Facebook, believe it or not. I think it's just, do whatever resonates with you, right? Because each one of these platforms has not only its demographics, right? But also it's kind of like just you might resonate with one of them over the other a little bit more because they're just a little bit different. TikTok, I've never been a fan of, frankly, because the fakeness is even higher on TikTok. So this idea of buying, followers and faking your success, that's even more of a thing, in my opinion, on TikTok, which is why I never, went into it. Just because, it's owned by the Chinese government. They don't give a shit about, like, if Instagram doesn't give a shit, imagine how TikTok doesn't give a shit about the fake followers, right? So that's my take on TikTok. Instagram, however, in my field, which is like DJing, and now I'm a podcast host, definitely I am leveraging Instagram a lot. Definitely, I'm all about Instagram. Just because for me, like I said, it's just, that's what I resonate with. But sorry, I didn't really give better tips. I just didn't know what the specific topic was. But happy to be a part of this room, and I'll definitely come back. Thank you so much.
Hey, DJ, man, thanks for being there. Thanks for being here. You make some good points. You got some claps and things like this. And I just to touch on, so if it's your first time in the room, thank you very much. Typically, we just go down this list left to right here. So that's why if it took a while to get to you, unless somebody flashed or said, hey, I'm an expert on this, I don't see them. And at one point, I can only see 12 people on the screen if I have my thing the whole way up. So it is not intentional. Sometimes, I will tell you, sometimes not from DJ, but sometimes I'll get an email after the thing and somebody will be like, I was down, you were so rude to me today. I flashed. Well, if there was 17 people on stage and you were down and I can only see 12 and you flashed, It was not intentional. I didn't see you. I'm not that good. So, and so as it says, not the smartest guys in the room. All right, we will continue, but thank you. And DJ made a good point about that. Whatever app resonates with you. So you might find that this one's easier for you, or this one's easier for you, or this my like LinkedIn. Let's say a lot of us use LinkedIn. LinkedIn's great for me. I use LinkedIn like as much as I use Facebook. I use LinkedIn. It's where my probably market is. But then at the same time, I'm on TikTok because I believe, well, there's a new generation of people that want inspiration and positivity and encouragement. Maybe I could be Jack Welch. If you ever read Jack Welch, he said first to market. So maybe I could be the first one on LinkedIn or on TikTok doing what I'm doing. Maybe I'm the first inspirational publisher that they meet on TikTok. So yeah, first, well, 3 years from now, 2 years from now, when their parents come on, when their dad comes on who wants to write a book and sees who they're following, who's this guy? You know, so that is why I'm on that platform. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Triple J, man, you got a tip for us or a question? Go on.
Oh, no tips. I'm new to podcasting, so I seen your house a little while ago, and I jumped in the room, just to learn, and because I'm a baby podcaster, basically, so I'm trying to learn how to do some things. I got a podcast now that I'm co-hosting with a good friend of mine, and we're talking about our transformational journeys. Me coming from 11 years of type 2 diabetes and being able to put it in remission. And I still have it in remission after 2.5 years, just talking about that journey. And also, it's Champions for Health. Is what our podcast is called. And so what we're doing is we're finding stories of other people that are championing their health as well. And so we're on a mission to do that. And I also have a podcast that I'm working on, my personal podcast, to kind of not mirror that, but kind of just, about my story a little bit more in depth and stuff like that. And maybe put out some journal entries and some different things. I'm just kind of brainstorming right now. But my question was, when you're co-hosting, what's some good ways, some good, I asked Dr. I think it's Tachi. I hope I said that right. Don't kill me if it's wrong. But I asked her about some good techniques that I can use for co-hosting interviewing when you're interviewing someone. So we're kind of new to it. So we're just trying to learn and do as we go. Right now, we're just kind of doing things on the fly right now. But if anybody has any tips for me or anything I can read or go find, I would be greatly appreciative of it.
I mean, I've got it is Dr. Tachi. You got it right. Triple J, and welcome to the room. I got a suggestion for you when it comes to doing interviews. The best interviews, and I'm not the person who came up with this way of describing it. I'm not going to try to take credit for it, but I very much agree with this sentiment that the best interviews feel like conversations. Right. The best interviews feel like conversations. So what I would say is, while you should always prepare for an interview, right? You should do your due diligence, You should do your research. You should know who you're talking to, what's interesting about their story, what you want to talk about, what the sort of highlights are, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes that's just having a quick call with them before you actually do the interview, right? So you can kind of talk through and ask them some like broad questions, and that'll give you an opportunity to actually narrow in on some focal points that you want to hit on in the interview. So definitely do that. Do pre-interviews, do your due diligence, and do some research on the person you're interviewing. But when you get to the actual interview, have your questions and use them, but be willing to stray away from them if the conversation goes in a direction that you weren't anticipating. Whatever you do, do not just ask a question and then look at your next question and then ask the next question and then look at your next question and then ask the next question, right? That's how your interview goes from being a conversation to an interrogation, right? Because it feels like you have an agenda and you want to know what you want to know, and you don't really care what they have to say, right? It feels like you're not listening to them. So
you like make it flow. You kind of got your questions as a guide. But
exactly.
If it kind of goes into a different area, let it keep going that way, and kind of just let it flow.
Yeah, exactly. The questions. So let's say you're driving down the highway. There's a guardrail on both sides of the side of the highway you're on. The questions are the guardrail. So like you can switch lanes, right? Depending on how the conversation goes and what they say, you can ask a follow-up question to something really interesting they just said. Just so long you can stay on the road, right? Those questions, those guardrails are going to keep you on the road. But like, feel free to switch lanes. Don't feel like you have to ask exactly the questions that you've written down in advance, because that's a good way to make it feel like an interrogation and not a conversation.
Okay, gotcha. I totally get that. Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Tachi, since it was podcasting, is there anything you wanted to add?
Well, yeah, I put in the chat that because I wasn't sure how far along you were in terms of the podcasting game, but I took it as if you were looking for, new techniques or whatever, different techniques. So that's why I put what I put in the chat, and I had put.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, no, that's not your fault. I wasn't sure where you were. So what I did is I answered in terms of gamifying it, because sometimes, just a regular interview may not do, depending on who the guest is. You may have somebody who really has a great personality, is really funny, and it may work to do something like that type of thing. Like I had put in. Like a 20 questions or never have I ever type of thing. So that way you and your co-host can also, quote, play along. But again, it depends on who the guest is, which is why it's great to have some beforehand knowledge and screen them ahead of time, and what the topic is about. And of course, it's always going to be health for you, but it doesn't mean that you can't add in other things, because I think the defining thing is with the podcast, and I always ask people this: why should I listen to you above anybody else who talks about the same thing? Because with everything we all do, somebody else is doing it. It's always interesting when I ask people, well, why should I watch your show? Oh, because it's different. No, it's not. Somebody else has done it before. It's what the spin that you bring to it. So, looking at that, what can you do that's going to be different? And it could be in the way you engage your guests, and the way you ask questions, and the atmosphere that you provide. So, another aspect to it.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Dr. Tasha. Yeah, I'm new. I actually tried to start one a long time ago when I first went on my journey, but you know how it is when people start and then they stop. But I got back going now, and I'm just trying to stay on the road. We got about 6 episodes in now, and we're still batching them and working hard right now.
Thank you, Triple J. Thank you, Dr. Tachi. I wanted to just point out that you said you have a co-host there, and Johnny's clapping. You said you had a co-host, so I'm just thinking of like a Howard Stern and Robin or something like that. You want to make sure that you're not stepping on the other co-host. So is there one that does this and somebody else does this, especially in the questions? You'll see like Bobby Bones or something. He's asking the questions, and then the next person will ask maybe the personal questions or elaborate on something that the host or the other person missed. Johnny, you flashed, and then DJ, I think you flashed. So Johnny, then DJ, then we'll go to our man, Tom. Okay, go on, Johnny.
So Triple J, if you got 6 episodes in the can, it's time to publish them.
Oh no, well, I got them done, but I got 3 that I published already.
Okay.
You were publishing 1 a week.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You made it sound like you're sitting on them, but
my bad.
That's all good. But that's all. I was just going to encourage you. Go ahead, push them out.
Yeah, we like encouragement here. Good job, Johnny. DJ, you flashed. What do you got?
Yeah. Whoops. I was just gonna agree with Doctor. I think he's not here. The doctor that was saying stuff about, it's not just like you asking questions. I mean, these are things that hopefully I consider to be common sense, right? Like it's a podcast. It's not a sort of it's a boring interview, right? There's a difference. But you just want to really, people often say like, oh, look at what is it called? Pay attention to the people that are listening, right? That's what I've heard from people is like, imagine you're the listener. This is ultimately what you're bringing in. But for me, I really value my guests. That's kind of what I've been doing, is really kind of catering and to my guests. Kind of, yes, the listeners are important, but I think it's important to also kind of make your guests feel special. They're giving you their time and all of that. In terms of just some basic, more tangible tips for kind of the style, as Dr. Dr. Tashi, sorry, you are here. As you pointed out, everybody is kind of saying the same thing, right? It's just embracing your own uniqueness and just really realizing that if somebody is interested in listening to you, it's because you're saying it. Doesn't mean that there isn't other people saying it, or so that's kind of what I wanted to add. And I actually personally haven't released all my episodes either. I've only released one, but I've done like 7 or 8. The reason behind it is I'm just trying to like kind of be careful a little bit too, because some of my stuff is a little bit controversial, so I have to kind of be careful before posting some stuff out there, which hopefully I can ask you folks this question sometime in the future or even now. How do you protect yourself as a podcast host? Kind of been a very challenging thing for me. And in fact, I spent $339 talking to a lawyer for 30 minutes yesterday, and he didn't give me anything. So if you guys have any tips around that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, DJ Red, I'm sorry, I missed the last part. So what was the question? What were you talking to the lawyer about? I missed it.
Sure. So basically, I guess somebody sort of told me that I should run this stuff by a lawyer, in the sense that like if somebody basically for reasons like saying the wrong thing, or what is the word, defamation or something like that, things like that, right? So what I had yesterday, and lawyers are very expensive. Holy shit. Like 30 minutes cost me $339. And to be honest with you, I could have YouTubed everything he told me. He didn't tell me much, right? Other than call me if you have fires to put out. Like that's all he said for 30 minutes. So I just wanted to kind of know if any of your podcasts are the types of podcasts perhaps that are a little bit controversial, because for me, the types of topics I cover are, I don't even want to say, in my opinion, they're not controversial, frankly, but like, we do get into like some of the things like dating, sex, relationships, those types of things. So I'm just wondering from you folks if there is a way to kind of protect myself, if you will.
So I think there's a couple of things, like just in terms of like best practices you can do that'll probably be beneficial. I'm going to preface this by saying I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. But what I would suggest just from a best practices perspective is don't name names or change names, right? If you're talking about a particular situation, don't say who it was, right? Like you noticed I was talking, or if you were here in the room when I was talking about this project I've got coming up this weekend, I intentionally didn't say who my client is. I didn't say exactly where I'm going to be filming, and that's just because like, look, I'm talking about my own opinions, the work that I'm doing behind the scenes. It really has nothing to do with my client. So, there's no reason to pull them into it, right? And tie them to something I said on this live stream. So I didn't mention them, right? So I think changing names, not mentioning names, things like that will help you protect yourself. And then the other thing too is make clear that what you're saying is an opinion, right? That's important, right? Say it, make clear that what you're saying is an opinion. And then as I understand it, again, I'm not an attorney, but as I understand it, malice is part of the standard that goes into somebody suing you for defamation, right? So they have to demonstrate that you had malintent, right? That there was malice with what you were saying about them, right? So hard to do if you don't name names, right? Hard to do if you change names, and really hard to do if you say that everything you're saying is simply your opinion, right? And is not is not a fact, right? So if you portray things as opinion and you don't name names or you change names, I think generally speaking, you're fine, right? And so long as you're not portraying yourself as a news organization or something like that, you'll be held to a different standard. Of course, if you're doing that, if you're putting yourself forward as a news source, but otherwise, I think you're gonna be good. So I would just follow those kind of guidelines. Real quick, and then did you have something you wanted to say real quick before
Tom,
we wrap up the room?
Really quick. First of all, I wish I had paid you the $339 because you gave me more helpful information. To be honest, maybe you should start your own business around this. But basically, so thanks a lot. The one quick thing is it a myth that if I incorporate sort of my DJing / podcast business, if I incorporate that, will it protect me in the sense that if somebody wants to personally sue me, now they can't because I have this company, so to speak? So is that a myth, or is that like a real thing that I can do?
I've been incorporated and been sued before. They came after you personally. So anytime in your life, once you start signing your name, unless you're signing like most of us aren't at that point where we're able to sign as just the company when you go to a bank or something like that. So anytime you sign anything with your own name, you could be in trouble. So on the publishing side, I just want to touch on this. Can a reasonable person identify who or what you're talking about? So names, we change names, we change businesses, we change hair colors. Well, you're talking about my ex-husband. Well, you better change the number of kids you had. You better put a disclaimer at the beginning of the book. You better change hair color, eye color, the job they had, any of that. You are changing all that, because if a reasonable person can identify, then like somebody called me the other day, it was an author. They wrote some stuff about somebody. They just said, he's a successful guy in this business in a certain town, and he had tattoos and this and this. Well, there's only one guy who does whatever this is on that side of town. I mean, I didn't even know. I knew instantly who this person was talking about. I'm like, come on. And that guy was actually suing the lady. So can a reasonable person identify? Go on.
Wait, Dominic, I'm so surprised. So even if I'm saying something positive about somebody,
there has to be. So to your point, there has to be a claim. There has to be damage in any claim. With no damage, there's no claim.
Okay, so because I do this a lot. Like if you look at one of my reels, I am promoting this guy, right? On this episode, I'm like, reach out to this person. So I do that a lot, like in sort of for people or products that I like to promote. That's okay, right? If it's a positive that I'm doing it.
Hey, well, I will tell you, one of my dear friends who we used to do this room together. He was sued by not sued, but cease and desist and all that from one of the highest members of Congress ever. He was sharing pictures of stuff down the road, not the day they did the podcast. Months later or a year later, he was sharing, well, so-and-so this on my show, so-and-so, just basically content from the show. And they sent him, you can no longer do this anymore. So just, you got to watch, got to have approvals.
Great point, Dominic. So that's what the lawyer said, actually. He said, for example, that I should create some kind of a, not contract, but, like a disclaimer in the email for the guests that I'm inviting. He said, because the guest could down the line say, oh, why did you use my content for such and such? So is that what you're referring to? Like the guest, is that the guest that you were talking about?
Yeah, 100%. I think you should have something like that in place. Go on, Johnny.
Yeah, so this is something that I'm actually an expert in because I've been podcasting since 2005. Everything that you do, DJ Rez, should be in writing, in a contract form, and you need to use the phrase in perpetuity. That phrase in perpetuity in your contract gives you the right and permission to use the voice, the likeness, any the names of anyone who appears on your podcast to repurpose for marketing and reference later on. This is a common phrase in contracts for TV, especially reality TV shows. I've been on America's Got Talent, Star Search, and several others. And that phrase, in perpetuity, is super important. So, but everything needs to be in writing with a signature. And I know a lot of podcasters don't do this, but you really need to, and it's going to save your butt way down the line.
Sorry, Tom, if I can just quickly, thanks a lot for everybody, by the way. This whole, so what do I do now? I have all these episodes that I didn't do this for, including one with like a high profile individual, James Swanwick. He's kind of like the no alcohol guy. So what am I going to do, guys?
Let me jump in on this. I'll tell you exactly what you do, and this is what you do going forward, and this is kind of the what Johnny was talking about. What you have to do is you have to secure rights to the content on your podcast, right? And you have to put in writing who owns those rights. Okay. And so what Johnny's talking about with that release is what you are asking your guests to do, and you can do it after the fact. Right? You can do it retroactively after the podcast has been recorded. But you run into issues if it's already out in the world, then you can run into difficulty. The other thing too is if you ask somebody after you've recorded the podcast and they say no, well, then guess what? You definitely can't use that podcast. You can't ever put it out on the internet, right? So like you have to know that going in, but and this is why you try to kind of cross these T's and dot these I's beforehand, but secure the rights, secure custody, right, of those rights. And what you're doing when you ask for that release is you are asking that person to give you the rights to their appearance and likeness, including their voice, right, et cetera, images of them, so on and so forth, in association with the content you're creating in perpetuity in all media now known or hereafter devised, right? And that's a kind of important part as well. That means that you can use it as a podcast. You can put it out on social media. You can do other things with that content as well if it's in all media, right? So that's an important part. In perpetuity, in all media now known or hereafter devised, because if somebody launches a new platform that you want to get on board with, well, guess what? You need that clause in there saying that you can use it there, even though it was devised after the contract was signed, after that release was signed. So what you need to do is have them release those ownership rights to their likeness, right, to you in the context of your podcast and the media you're producing with them. You can absolutely do it after the fact, after it's recorded. That's not a problem, but be aware if you ask and they say no, then you definitely can't use it, right? Because you are just then painting a target on yourself for a lawsuit. So that's, I want to, because Dom and I actually both have to jump out of here today. So I just want to land the plane there with that. And then for my little wrap up today, I want to obviously start by thanking everybody for being here. Thanks for the new folks for coming in. Thank you, Dr. Tachi, for always being here and supporting. Same with you, Brian and Joyce, and Johnny, who is here most weeks. I see David Campbell down there as well. He's here when he can be here. Thanks to all the new folks. I know we had a bunch of new people in the room this week. Amanda back from last week. Thanks for being here. DJ Rez, thanks for hopping up on stage. Appreciate all you guys for being here. You guys are the reason why we do this room. It's to gather a bunch of experts and answer questions and share tips and kind of raise everybody else's level of knowledge and understanding. The idea of that rising tide lifts all boats sort of thing is why we do this room and why we love having all these brilliant people in here with us, because we are not the smartest guys in the room. I'll leave you with this. I've got this big shoot coming up that we started talking about at the beginning of the show today. And during the course of the show, I got a text. Apparently one of the camera operators has had a health emergency, so hope he's okay. But he's not going to be able to be with us this weekend. So now I have to go find another camera operator to start on Friday. And while that seems like it could be a super stressful situation, I'm not really stressed. I know we'll get through it. And here's why. It's because I've been doing this for a long time. And I know that no shoot I've never been on a shoot that went exactly as planned. Something always goes sideways. And that is not limited to the production industry. That is true across the board. Every time you have something that you've planned for coming up, something will go sideways, right? And the best thing you can do is keep your head up and keep moving forward, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and deal with the problems as they arise, because and be confident in the knowledge that all the work that you've put in means that you will ultimately successfully pull off this endeavor, right? So I'm confident that we will pull off this shoot, that we will create the amazing content that we've been hired to create, and that we will blow everyone away with it. So I am off to find a new camera operator for our shoot this weekend up in Boston. Wish me luck. Thanks everybody for being here again this week. Thank you, Dom, for always running the room with such expertise. Really appreciate you. And we will see you guys next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Not the smartest guys in the room, myself and Tom. Thank you guys. We'll see you then. Love you. Peace out.